Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Andrea MacKenzie, who is the founder of Lead with Harmony. Welcome to the program, Andrea.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Hey, so give me a little bit of your background, your entrepreneurial journey, and what inspired you to start your coaching practice.
Sure, absolutely. So again, I'm Andrea MacKenzie, Lead with Harmony, and founder of Lead with Harmony, and our mission is to help our clients create high-performance, low-stress environments in their workplaces. And we do this by helping them optimize their people's strengths and improve their operations. My background as an MBA with a background in management consulting, and even before that, before officially entering the consulting world, I had a history of project work. And so I was constantly affected on a day-to-day basis by this concept of team. And I certainly didn't work in a silo, and collaboration was a key to almost every role that I played. So whether I was the project manager or someone at a company trying to support consultants on strategic initiatives, I was affected every day by the motives, agendas, attitudes, leadership abilities, communication abilities, and the level of trust that was going on across everyone on my teams. And in some cases, these dynamics led to stress in my life, and in other cases they led to sort of amazing solutions and implementations and big, sort of celebratory moments. And so all of that sort of, work sort of helped me develop this curiosity that led me to explore why certain teams are successful and how I had played a part in that success, or in some cases in not having success, right? And in that process, I became a certified coach. I started focusing on leadership development, group and team coaching. I became certified in several assessments that I believe make a huge impact on awareness and conflict prevention, even assembling the right people to be successful on any type of team. And so my business, Lead with Harmony, like I said before, was born out of my sort of that change of focus from that project management person, that project manager, day-to-day sort of tactical person, to really helping companies assess and utilize their people's strengths to develop leaders and teams that drive the company's success and sustain, great cultures within companies. My clients.
I love it, and you mentioned, kind of like with a chuckle about someone failing or seeing negative things happen, and I think that it's so important to embrace that or recognize that or learn from it, because you either win or you. And some people say lose. No, it's win or you learn. If you win, you win. If you don't, you learn from it. And in fact, literally just today, I got an email because I got a personal email from Damon John. Ha, 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 right? I'm on his email list. But anyway, he sent out this email, and one of the points he made was, I always like to invest in companies and see in their pedigree, their background, some failed businesses. I want to see that they, number one, failed, and then they picked themselves up and started another one. And if they failed again, great, but here's this other one, and here's what they've learned. What do you find when you have teams that you see some failures? How do you coach them through the failure, and then how to build from that?
Right. So I think to reframe what you're saying, I think, is that there is really no such thing as failure at the end of the day. And I do believe that that's true. If you're afraid to fail, you're never going to get anywhere. And to your point, even if you've never failed, you're kind of never going to get anywhere. So yeah, I think the big thing is, particularly in project work, but even so when you're working with a team that's fairly, sort of operational, there's going to be ebbs and flows. And so, people need to be able to sort of readjust. And, again, to your point, what did we learn, right? Where are we going? Are we still going in the same direction, right? So it's opportunity to sort of reassess and see where you really should be heading. And if you're still going for the same goals, then you start to look at where things are breaking down, right? Is it again, things I was saying before, is it hidden agendas and motives? Are people just not wanting to get there? Do you have the wrong people in the wrong roles? Is your leadership having issues for some reason? Is there conflict? Is there disagreement? So there's an opportunity there, and that's actually oftentimes when I come in, right? Is there's something going on that needs to be diagnosed, and it's a great opportunity to start, kind of moving forward and readjusting.
Because if that wasn't going on, why would they call you in? They think they're doing just fine.
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of funny. I was doing a marketing workshop a couple weeks ago, and one of the slides was talking about how people's current environment right now goes from this point of calm to the next point of, ooh, something happened, to the next point of, let me see how I can fix it. And they're talking about how you need to get positioned in front of that with your marketing messages and sales and all that. But the point is, it reminds me of that story about the farmer that goes up to the other farmer's house and he sees his hound dog, and he, every 10 seconds he lifts his head up and howls, and he goes, well, what's up with your dog? He's howling every few minutes. And he goes, oh, he's just laying on a nail. And the guy goes, how come he doesn't get up and move? He goes, well, it's just not hurting him bad enough. Well, right. I think we all find those situations where it's like, yeah, things aren't going great, but it's not catastrophic enough to call in the cavalry. So at what point do you have organizations, what should they recognize in their day-to-day activities where they go, you know what, this is happening and this is happening. I wonder if we could tweak or reach out to someone to help us coach us through that. What would be that trigger?
Right. Well, first of all, I think it's really important for companies to know that they're ready to do this kind of work. And when I say this kind of work, I mean really looking at how to develop their people and to care about their people. And I know your focus is really on that, again, like you said, like sort of that sales and marketing side. And I think, of course, every company wants to make money. You're not a company unless you're making money. Mm-hmm. But you're also not a company unless you have people. Mm-hmm. And, you've got to make sure that you're, looking on, okay, yes, we're making money. And usually that's the only indicator. It's like, okay, we're making money. Let's just keep going. But if all your people are ready to walk out the door, yep, now you got problems. And so I think the indicator is, you're seeing people burn out and you're seeing conflict. But, at the same time, I don't want to discount those companies who just want to get ahead of it, to your point, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to be seeing burnout or seeing stress or seeing conflict. You just want to make sure that you're constantly reevaluating your culture and constantly reevaluating and giving people more awareness and helping them see where are they going, right? Do you even have the right sort of succession planning and career development and all these things that help people move forward in their own individual lives? I think that there are some companies who are just on it. They know that people are important. They know that culture is important. They know that, developing their leaders, gaining awareness. And when I say leaders, by the way, I'm not talking about people of authority. I'm talking about everybody. Mm-hmm. So everybody has this sense of leadership, right? Everybody needs to understand where they're taking themselves and where the company can support that. There's kind of that two sides to it. One is you're just that type of company. You just want to get better at developing your people, supporting your people, caring about your people. On the other hand, you're seeing things like burnout. You're seeing things like conflict, stress. You want to develop emotional intelligence. You want to make your leadership better. Those are all indicators as well.
So you mentioned a little bit ago optimize strengths of
yes.
a team member. And I know that it's kind of like that cliche old saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link on your team right. or whatever. So what does it look like specifically to optimize someone's strengths? Yeah,
that's a great question. I use that word, and I know it means different things to different people. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good to clarify. So for me specifically, I actually am very, an assessment that's very ingrained in me and that I've been certified in is called the Colby A Index, and they have many, many other assessments that they do. But what this does is it actually assesses innate strengths, which means, ta-da, you can finally know what you can't change. This is who your people are. Right.
I feel great.
In a way, it's good to know what you can't change, right? You can't keep trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, So I find this to be a very, very quick way of seeing who your people are, why they might be coming in conflict with each other, how to optimize those things that they do best. Because when people are really working with their innate cognitive strengths, they stay out of stress, they're more productive, and your turnover essentially goes down, right? You can retain them. They're generally, in a better place. Your risk of burnout and conflict goes down significantly. So really looking at job roles, the first step really is to look at what are you expecting of people? Because I could literally look at a job description and tell you right away that you've already shot yourself in the foot. You've got strengths in there that conflict with each other. Somebody can't be both of these things, right? So it's sometimes it's so clear. I could walk in and look at what people have decided to kind of how to organize and how to give people tasks. And it's clear just from the beginning that they've already shot themselves in the foot. And then if you can clarify that, then you can hire people it's 80% predictive of how someone's going to behave in their job, this assessment. So I think it's a fantastic tool. And, just in terms of strengths in general, I think it's also used that word is used very widely to mean a lot of different things. I think you also have to assess people's values, right? What really motivates them and so on and so forth. To me, that's a different segment of how you evaluate someone. But you got to know what incentivizes people, because if they're not motivated, they're not going to do it. It doesn't even matter if it's their strength. So There's so many facets to this. And then training people to the things that they're strong at, rather than training them assuming that a training is just going to make them go out and do it, because that's not going to happen either. So there's many facets to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a check the box.
Right, exactly.
So on your website, you've got a quote that I like: "Job stress costs $300 billion annually for the U.S. industry." So that's for the industry, but is there a correlation to job stress costing the organization? I'm sure there is, but how would you speak to that organization to say, when we get some of these things in line, there are some tangible impact to your bottom line that this can, no guarantees, but how would you correlate that to the organization itself?
Yeah, there's kind of two different ways to look at what it's costing, right? On one hand, it's turnover. People leave when they're stressed out, right? So the cost of turnover can be, several 100% of somebody's salary, not to mention all the other things that happen with it, right? Other people get stressed out, you might hire the wrong person coming in, people need to take on things. Yeah, right. And then the other side of the coin is, okay, they don't leave, but now they're sick.
And then they cause problems staying.
Yeah, right. Then they're sick, or they're, the people, they call them like toxic, individuals. I don't know if I like that term, because I think, everybody it doesn't, that's all circumstantial, right? But they cause this, stress spreads, right? Attitudes and energy. I also do something called the energy leadership assessment, and it actually really looks at attitude. Where are you? Are you in victim energy every day at work? Because that's a problem, and it will seep into everyone else's life, right? So stress is a really hard thing to quantify. I mean, they tried with that, right? And of course, people can argue. I believe it's costing. Look, it's not just costing money, right? We want to go to work and we want to have a good time, right? We spend on average 9 hours a day at work, right? So that's a lot of our lives to be miserable.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not just a quantity; it's a qualitative thing. Who wants to go to a work environment where they're stressed out all the time? It's just, to me, it's just it's a no-brainer, right? Why? Why would you want to go? Right? Why would you want to perform?
That's a huge point. And it's kind of like begin with why. Well, let's figure this out. Why are you staying? Why are you feeling this way? And then I think that becomes a good springboard then for your, moving forward and putting a plan of action in place for them.
Absolutely.
So what are some of your clients seeing result-wise? So if they are seeing some of these things and they can't even quantify, wow, what would it look like if you came in and worked with, us, with our team? I can't even put our finger on, what's wrong. I just think something's out of whack. You can come in and do an assessment. What would some tangible results be that they could expect to look for?
Right. So in terms of what I was just talking about, in terms of the turnover piece, I mean, there are some ways that I can help people make sure they're hiring the right fit, and that will reduce your, turnover rates. It'll reduce your costs, all of that. But on the more sort of qualitative level, strengthening leadership, right? That's one thing that we really work on, right? So when leaders develop sort of a greater awareness of themselves, their people, they gain emotional intelligence, right? So all of that helps to prevent this kind of burnout and conflict. They're able to really work through issues before all of those negative things start to occur, right? They're able to increase team performance through better decision-making, delegation, communication, clarity around their goals. That's something that I work with individuals on a lot, right? If you don't know where you're going, it's just all chaos, right? So I'm a very strategic person, so that's always in the back of my mind. And then going into this piece around resolving and preventing conflict, sometimes that can be a really quick win. I mean, moving forward quickly from conflict, that's something that my clients can do now, right? They know how to mitigate the risks of conflict. They know, whether it's between just two people or on an entire team, an executive team, right? There have been cases where after months and months of working on figuring out what's going on from a conflict perspective between two people, I've come in, done an assessment, had one or two discussions, and then they knew exactly what needed to happen. Wow. Because it became so clear, right? So they understand how to work with each other most productively, right? And without having all that stress and frustration. And sometimes you just have to say, we're not going to work with each other on this because we know we're going to clash. If you know that ahead of time, you can plan, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, this just thinking strategically again. I mean, really getting people to think strategically, helping leaders, leverage their cultures for better hiring, change management, organizational strategies, becoming clear by helping them gain consensus. One of the things I love to do is facilitate discussions where everyone is heard, facts are laid out, and the strategic focus is a constant thing that we revisit to make sure that we're creating solutions, right, based on where the client really wants to go. So I think that they've developed better communication, better ability to make decisions, right? All of this is part of, at the end of the day, that big word, distress, right? That all gets cleared when you start to work on some of these things.
I love it. It's clarity, focus. I love those buzzwords, but when it goes past being a buzzword to a deliverable, that's just takes it to the next level. So if someone was interested in reaching out just to at least learn to see maybe if your program could help them, what's the best way that they can reach out and connect with you and learn more?
The best way to find me is at www.leadwithharmony.com, and you can contact us there, and we have a very good response rate. So very responsive.
Well, Andrea, thanks for coming on today. It was great getting to know you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.